Everybody, Mike Beer here with Thursday's DRF race of the day. We're going to Aqueduct, race number 5. It's a maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies. They're going to go a mile on the turf. Let's take a look at this field. It's overflowed. They got 10, a full gate of 10 in the main body of the race, and also eligible in number 11, Brina, who is a well-bred first-time starter for Todd Pletcher, but she needs a scratch to get in. Everybody from number 12, obligatory on down, are entered for main track only. Hopefully we do not see them run. Aqueduct's going to try and get, seems like one more week out of their turf courses here before they shut it down for the year. And hopefully they get these races in. This is a very interesting maiden race. It feels like it's going to be led by Amortization, Chad Brown, Klarovich stable, second-time starter here by Kingman. This is a filly who was, sort of a lukewarm favorite in her debut at Belmont back in September. Went off at nearly 3-1 and just sort of looked like she needed that race. I suspect that she goes favored again in this spot, but it's a fairly wide open race with some different races to go. The pace situation, not that easy to get a read on. I don't know, how much stock you would want to put into something like the pace projector because it's just a pretty tough call here. Certainly number 2, Fidelia, who is stretching out for the first time after making 3 starts, sprinting up at Woodbine on their synthetic track up there. That horse could certainly show some speed and beyond the early lead here. Number 6, Palm Court, is also stretching out for Mike Maker and returning to turf here after getting rained off last time. I can see that horse showing speed, but the pace situation is pretty tough to get a read on. In here, let's start off by the analysis by just looking at the 3 first-time starters in the main body of the field. I don't know that any one of these horses really caught my fancy. We'll see what happens there. They certainly have some things to recommend them. The number 3 is Broken Table. For trainer Todd Pletcher, Rapoli stable. They paid 100,000 guineas for her as a yearling. And she's over here to debut now very late in the season. She's by Master Craftsman. Obviously a very good turf horse he was, and he's a good sire as well. You don't see many of them over here. And it's a solid female family as well. This horse gets Jose Lescano from a good inside post. This horse, to be honest, didn't jump off the page at me, but there's some pedigree here, is drawn towards the inside. Pletcher can win with a horse like this. His numbers aren't great with 2-year-old first-time starters debuting on the grass, but he can certainly win with a horse like this. Number 8, another first-time starter named Cole Shaft. He's by Mine Shaft. She's debuting for Danny Gargan. He doesn't start a lot of first-time starters on the turf for Gargan. You don't see too many of those, but he's another guy who can win with a first-time starter. This horse, by Mine Shaft, she's a half to 2 turf winners. One of those was also a debut winner going a mile on turf for Mike Maker. So there's a little bit of pedigree here. This filly showing works all the way back to May, though, for Danny Gargan. And maybe this horse a little backwards. Not really sure that I wanted to get too involved with this horse, but she should wind up being a price in here if you found something that you like. Number 10, Baby Blythe, will debut for Shug McGahee. This is an American Pharaoh filly. This horse actually has pedigree on the dam side. The American Pharaohs, they're okay to be sure, I guess. I guess if you're going to bet those horses, you're going to want them on the turf. He seems like his horses are a little more comfortable there at this stage of the game. The dam went 1 for 13, but she won on the grass. She's a sister to 2 stakes winners, including Caravaggio, a Coolmore Aidan O'Brien horse who went 7 for 10 in Europe. Mostly a sprinter, but multiple Group 1 and Group 2 winner, made nearly $1 million. That horse could run. So there's pedigree here. This horse has Joel Rosario from a tough outside post. We'll see how she does. Let's start off, again, go back to Amortization. It feels like she's going to be the favorite for Top Connections. This filly debuted at Belmont again, was a lukewarm favorite and wound up settling for 4th that day. Let's look at the stretch run, the replay of her stretch run there. I thought all in all this was a useful debut. She just sort of didn't look like a horse who was quite ready for her debut. It seemed like she might have needed to start. She got outrun early. That was okay in there because the winner actually came from way out of it to win. Did a little bit of chasing around the turn. I thought she looked very green early. Javier Castellano got her out into the clear for the stretch, and she was racing on. I liked the way that she finished up at the end of the race. It felt like, maybe towards the end of that race, she was starting to figure things out. Closest at the finish, just missed 3rd, getting up for 4th. All in all, I thought it was a useful debut. Will not be surprised if she takes a step forward here and beats this field in her 2nd career start. I also feel like she'll be a short price in this race. Number 2, Fidelia. I guess that horse could win. She's a New York bred shipping down here from Woodbine after making 3 starts there. I actually feel like she ran okay sprinting in those races. Her debut was pretty good. She wound up back off of that pace, towards the rail around the turn. Then she got out into the clear, and I liked the way that she was finishing up in there. Just missed 2nd. I thought that was a good effort. Her 2nd career start, a little closer to the pace, but unfortunately for her that day, she was chasing a really sharp winner Drunk Dial, who was a first-time starter. That horse looked really good airing on that field in the stretch, and Fidelia gave way there after chasing that horse early, and she came back with another good effort last time. New top buyer of 72. On the outside all the way as she was trying to gain on the leader in the stretch there. That horse drifted out in front of her. That race was running an absolute blizzard that day. That card was canceled shortly after that race, but this horse did a little bit of running that day. I think this filly's okay. She's a New York bred. She's got a good post and she may show speed. Not a ton of turf pedigree, but I can see her handling this surface and being all right in here. I thought the number 1, Miss Bonnie T, was interesting for David Donk as well. Animal Kingdom filly who did debut at Aqueduct early in the meet. And I thought she ran, okay in that race. A 64 buyer. She was never a threat to win it. I think when you watch that replay back, you can see that there's never really a point where it looks like she's going to win. And she did get a good trip overall. But I just thought she showed a little bit of run. And I just feel like that was a good field. The winner of that race was switching to turf for the first time for Shug McGahee with pedigree. And that horse actually ran really well that day. 79 buyer speed figure. I think that was a good field. And I think Miss Bonnie T might have just been a little bit too tough that day. I don't think this field is as tough as that one. I think this horse is going to run okay in this race, and I would like to use her somewhere. I don't know if I would have her on top, but she feels like she could be an okay price in this race. I'd like to use that horse, but my top pick in the race is going to be the 6 Palm Court, and we'll see. We'll just see what she does in here. There's a real question surrounding Palm Court in here, the 6, and I think if you could look at her on paper and think this horse may not be able to run at all, but she debuted on turf going 6.5 at Kentucky Downs for trainer Mike Maker. She went favored that day. She did not run well at all in there. She was under a ride from the start by Jose Ortiz. He was trying to get her to keep up close to the pace, but she just looked, green to me on the outside. She could never hold her position up there. Never made any kind of a serious run at the race, and Ortiz just sort of let her fall out of the race around the turn. He wasn't asking her for anything through the stretch. She wound up far back at the end of that race. It was not a good performance, but she just looked like a horse who may not have been ready. She got a little time off after that. When she came back at Aqueduct at the end of November, her race got rained off the turf, and she only got a 48 buyer there. She finished 6th that day. I actually feel like she ran okay that day, though. Forward away, couldn't make the lead, but she did show a little bit more speed, and she wasn't as green. And she was just very, very wide, about 5 wide all the way around the turn. She kept chasing it all the way around that bend, all the way through the stretch, never really given away any ground. I thought that was an underrated performance, and she may have improved a lot more in that race than it appears that she did on paper. And now she's back to turf. It feels like this is the surface that she's bred for. She's going to stretch out in distance. I think she'll show more speed this time with Kendra Carmouche. And I just feel like she's the kind of horse who might get overlooked a little bit in this race and just maybe deserves one more chance at a price in this race. And that's why I took her more than anything else. I respect amortization. I think she's the horse to beat, but I didn't think she had to win this race. I'll use Miss Bonnie T as well for Donk. I think that horse also maybe ran a little bit better than it looks on debut. So I went 6-1, 7-3 in the Thursday DRF race of the day. It's race number 5 at Aqueduct. The approximate post time is going to be 2:15 Eastern time. Good luck.